If you listen to the media, you would think nationalism is rising because millions of people are racist, sexist, xenophobic, and horrible. You could believe that, but I don't think it's true at all. Watch this whole video and consider it if you really want to curb the rise of nationalism and right-wing extremism. I want to stop the rise of nationalism and right-wing extremism. To really do that, we can't keep making the same mistakes and ignoring the real reasons. So why is nationalism rising? It's rising in a left-wing form in Mexico. It's rising in a right-wing form in Italy, USA, Canada, Sweden, many parts of Europe, and is already huge in Asia. Why? For Mexico, rise in crime, rise in corruption, and weak leaders drew them towards a more nationalist leader. In Italy, Canada, Sweden, and Europe, it was weak leadership, a complex refugee crisis, and many other things. In Asia, they have extremely low crime and don't want people in their country who they don't think want to assimilate into their culture. They protest refugees like no other, but it barely gets any media coverage. But I'm going to speak about USA the most since it's my home and it's what I know the most. Why is nationalism really getting more popular? When you listen to the media and left-wing politicians, they'll tell you America is a melting pot built on equality and inclusion. This is true, we are a melting pot. We're a nation of immigrants and proud of it. But what the media and left-wing politicians refuse to admit now is America was also attractive because of other values. Values such as freedom of speech, the right to bear arms against a tyrannical government, safety, security, diversity of thought. These are things that many media sources and left-wing politicians all but abandoned. Classic liberal stances. They now go as far as to calling NRA members terrorists. And law enforcement agencies that I will remind you are a large portion Latino and stop thousands of kids and women from being smuggled, raped, and trafficked. Terrorists. It's now a mainstream stance to advocate for open borders and the abolition of law enforcement agencies, even when it was a basic Democratic Party stance 2 years ago. They refuse to look at the clear negative aspects of the refugee crisis, and most importantly, the wars that literally led to the refugee crisis. Preventable wars. Sketchy wars, many of who were led by the same leaders of the now resistance. So the opposite of nationalism is what people on the right and some on the left would call globalism. Starting unnecessary wars, creating a major refugee crisis, then allowing millions of people into Western countries that very well may have no intention to embrace these values of equality, freedom, and diversity that we all enjoy. Even Louis Farrakhan of the Nation of Islam, major critic of America, major critic of Donald Trump, and major critic of Western countries, even admitted this himself.
That's what America did in Libya. That's what they're doing in Syria. And the blowback now is they have created a refugee crisis that is destabilizing the countries in Europe. So when Mr. Trump said we can't allow these Muslims, refugees, into America. Now, a lot of people were upset with him, but I know, sir, that the hatred for America in the Muslim world is building, as we told Mr. Bush. No Muslim leader could call for jihad and have it stick. No Muslim leader had the power to unite the whole Muslim world. I said, but America's policies will unite those people against the West, and it is happening. So in this way, Mr. Trump, I think, is wise to vet anyone coming from that area into America, because the hatred for America is in the streets now. So if those people are refugees and America feels I gotta let 10,000 of them in because America created the problem. Now, if you let them in and you don't vet them carefully, you might be letting in your own destruction.
So to put it simply, people are tired of globalism, unnecessary regime change wars, open borders, excessive illegal immigration, letting the UN dictate the rules for every country, and the demonization, or in some cases arrest, of anyone that speaks out against it. This is really happening. This leads to nationalism. People desperately moving further right, or in some cases left, gripping onto their values and freedoms, desperately wanting safety, security, and less corruption. It's really not hard to see why here, in a country that is simultaneously pushing for gun control, open borders, abolition of literal law enforcement agencies that protect kids from traffickers, socialism, which millions of people narrowly escaped alive just to get to this country. Meanwhile, celebrities, media, and politicians aggressively ramp up tensions in a climate where a Republican politician has been shot, had his ribs broken, and threatened to be sliced with a hatchet. The irony being, of course, that Rand Paul is one of the most anti-war, anti-corruption, and outspoken politicians about the bipartisan trickery and nonsense. He's well respected by many on the left and the right, but they want to do all of what I just mentioned, usher in socialism, demand stricter gun regulations, demonize common sense legislation, and you expect millions of people to just be cool with it? Of course not. This is the direct cause in the rise of nationalism. I'm not a nationalist. I'm not a globalist. Too much of either is not good. I'm an American citizen and a human being on planet Earth. But this is really why nationalism is rising everywhere. This is why I'm a lifelong left-leaning liberal, but I am beyond appalled by left-wing politicians, media, the celebrity elite class, Democrats, progressive politicians, and classic establishment Republicans. They claim to want to stop nationalism and right-wing politics, but they are the direct cause of the rise in nationalism and right-wing politics. I've never voted for a Republican in my life, but the left has gone so far left that they are making some conservative Republicans seem like the only rational, sane choice. Yes, America should always be an inclusive, diverse, and equal place. But it should also be free. Personal liberties and diversity of thought. President Trump's Latino support went up 10% during the whole media border fiasco. How could that happen? Because the media and politicians treat Latino citizens like dirt. Black citizens like they don't even exist anymore when it's not politically convenient and when there's not some virtue signaling to be had. White and multicultural citizens get the back burner for people that aren't even citizens here. That's not going to garner very much support from American citizens other than those caught in the emotions and theatrics of the whole plot. And yes, that drives people to the right wing and closer to nationalism than they've ever been. And the longer people delusionally ignore it and make excuses, it's the racist, sexist, Russian, xenophobe, everybody outside of my thought bubble is mean, terrible, bigoted, racist, it's not going to help. It's just driving more and more people away towards the cause that you claim to be fighting. That's the truth. And people need to embrace the truth in order to solve the problem that they claim to want to fix. So if you really want to stop right-wing extremism and the rise of nationalism like I do, here's what you could do. Common sense, rationality, logic, prioritizing citizens, stop preaching love and equality while pushing some of the most hateful rhetoric I've ever seen. And most importantly, understand that America is the beacon of the free world because it is free. Good economy, free speech, personal liberties, safety, security. Many people want to preserve those values as opposed to lose them to empty virtue signaling and complete lawlessness from a side of the political spectrum that is going further off the deep end instead of pivoting to compromise and understand their own citizens, and why hundreds of millions of people worldwide feel the way that they feel. So much love. God bless the free world. God bless everyone of every race, religion, gender, country. Earth is a wild and amazing planet. I feel very grateful to be here relaying this message to you. And if you really want to stop the rise in nationalism, you might just find that my analysis is much more honest, accurate, and helpful than anything that's being aggressively pushed by many people. Aggressively pushed by the celebrities and the media and the politicians. And sometimes that's what it takes. A more honest approach, a step back, and a real look at what's going on. An honest one, a rational one, a considerate one, to make the type of progress that I know everybody really wants to make. Let me know your thoughts. Please be kind, and let's be the change we want to see in the world. Let's work on understanding each other so we can work together and make this country and the world better than it's ever been before. Thank you so much.